Justin, how you doing, man?
Doing good, man. How about you?
All right, we can just laugh about it. Let's just admit I'm an idiot. I didn't press record. I'm going to blame Jeremy. Like, listen, look, great to see you, dude. I've had a whole load of people get in touch with me. They're like, you've got to interview the Bitcoin vegan. That's maybe like for at least a year. And I kept ignoring it going, because I was a vegan, right? We can talk about that. I was a vegan for 2 years, vegetarian 16 years. Like, I find the subject interesting. Sometimes I thought of going back, but I was like, I don't want to talk to a Bitcoin vegan for an hour about being a vegan. And then someone connects us this week and they said, yeah, you need to talk to Justin. His story's insane. I get a copy of the book. I didn't have a chance to read it because of the time, but I've skimmed it. I know some of the story. And you're also the first person to fly in for an interview. I usually fly. So appreciate you giving me your time. And dude, I'm looking forward to hearing your story, man.
No problem, man. I appreciate you extending the offer for me to come here. Like when I read the text, I said, wow. And it's like, how can I not say yeah? You know, you got to say yeah to certain things.
Well, so we're here, we're doing this. So like, all right, where the hell do we start with this story, man? Because I want to hear about the bit where you went to prison. I interviewed Charlie Shrem. Obviously, you're probably going to talk to him at some point. You've got a similar bit of story there. I learned a lot from him about that. But where does this story start for you?
So this story for me, we're going to take this story back to like late 2016, my senior year in high school. I remember coming home from basketball practice and my mom telling me that we lost the house due to like kind of like that pre housing market crash time. And I really didn't know what all was going on, but I was 16, about to be 17 years old. So from there, I had to transfer to a different school. I wasn't able to play basketball at all my senior year, and I was really training hard for that. The same year, I had gone to a school called West Charlotte. And there, I'm just hanging out with some of my friends that I've known throughout Charlotte through my entire life. And my life took another turn when a friend of mine was killed at a party. He was killed right in front of us. It was accident shooting. And that also altered my mind a bit because, you know, I went from losing my house, having your friend die, then actually witnessing it. So that played a role on me for a long time, even does to this day. But from there, I was still able to graduate from high school. That was good. I had gone to this college called North Carolina A&T in Greensboro, North Carolina. And college was all right, but I never really had a plan. I just went to college because that's what you're supposed to do. Wanted to get away from where I was, and A&T was a bit of a party school. So in my mind, it was just about just trying to find something calm or something just relaxing. I never sit and say I lived an entire life of, you know, in the streets or anything, but just certain things take place and it just alters you at a very young age. So then, you know, I was in school. I was all right at school. I even made the dean's list, but I dropped out of school. One day at A&T, we would do a lot of partying, smoking weed, partying. But one time I was in class and the professor said, you know, you guys won't have a job available for 5 years after you graduate. And I was like, wait.
What?
Why not? So I'm supposed to graduate in 2011. And then I was just like, man, this is some bullshit. I stood up. I said, y'all don't hear this? Like, because Sally Mae's going to want the money 6 months after graduation. So in my mind, I'm like, what are we getting set up for? I mean, so I decided to drop out. It was kind of probably a decision I shouldn't have made because I didn't have a plan. But I just thought, well, you know, I can go home and, you know, I can do what everybody else is doing to get money, find a way to get some money. Never really had a plan, would have just went out there and did it. And
what were you studying?
Business.
Okay.
Business administration. So from there, you know, came back home, trying to find various ways to earn money. And you think what's happening around you is something you partake in. Like, you know how they say, be a product of your environment.
Mm-hmm.
So I was hanging around with folks and got caught up into a situation where it was like a home invasion. I was told by a few friends, you know, guys might have money. And I was like, well, I just want money. I'm not even really here to hurt nobody. But nothing was there, so I left them. And we all left. Eventually, the police caught up with me, and then I had gone to prison for 3 years.
All right, we're going to have to go through quite a bit of that. There's a lot there. Okay, firstly, So how serious was basketball for you at the time?
Basketball was, I used to wake up at 5 a.m. in the morning every day during my rising senior year. Like I looked up to Kobe, RIP, and I just remember how much he would talk about hard work, how much he would talk about just being diligent to what you wanted to do. And so I was like, well, hell, if you want to get good, you just got to keep going. So basketball was serious. And when I couldn't play it, I tried to just let it roll off, but I could tell like it really had a profound effect. But yeah, basketball was pretty serious.
Were you a Hornets fan? Is it Charlotte Hornets?
I live in Charlotte, but I'm a Lakers fan.
Because of Kobe?
Yes. Because of Kobe. Well, also because of my uncle. My uncle, if you ask him who the best basketball player in the world is, he'll say Magic Johnson. So we grew up, he taught me how to play basketball, him and my cousin, and we were just like embedded to be Laker fans. So
if I ask you, who was the best ever?
Kobe Bryant.
He's the best?
The best.
Better than Michael Jordan?
You know what?
I'll tell you something about basketball. So I've been to a few basketball games, and it's a sport I've struggled with because my sport's soccer.
Mm-hmm.
I like soccer and boxing, right? And
you like boxing?
Yeah.
Oh, we can talk about that.
We'll talk about that in a minute. I'm going to a fight on Saturday.
Yeah. You going where?
Wilder Fury. Yeah.
You're not taking me?
Well, we could talk about that. We can talk about that. If you want to go, we can talk about that. Right, listen. So, and I'm being kind by saying soccer. It's really football, right?
Mm-hmm.
But football's a low-scoring game.
Right.
I've seen games which have finished like goalless, 0-0, and they've been great games.
Mm-hmm.
But most games are low-scoring. Like you're very lucky if you get like a 4-3 or a 4-4. So it's a low-scoring game.
Right.
It's hard to score. Whereas basketball is a high-scoring game.
Mm-hmm.
So I've been a few times. I've been to see the Knicks. I've been to see the Lakers. I saw Kobe play once.
Right.
I feel very lucky to have done that. And I just really struggled to enjoy it. And just kind of gave up on it. I like US football, and I also like ice hockey. Ice hockey is the most similar to British football, I think, as a sport. It's a lower scoring game, and it's hard to score, and it's
like a lot of defense at the
yeah. But I watched the Michael Jordan Netflix series, and that changed my understanding of basketball quite a bit.
Right.
I haven't had a chance to go since, but I now want to go.
Right.
I didn't understand how good Michael Jordan was. All I knew he was just like this hero in Chicago, and that he was so good that he had his own brand for Nike. Which, by the way, I've heard if Jordan was its own separate brand, it would be the third biggest sports brand behind Nike and Adidas.
Big deal.
But I watched that and I got a much better understanding of the game of basketball and how good he was.
Yeah.
And I've never seen anything paint Kobe as good as him yet, apart from people like you telling me that.
Listen, I mean, Michael is the GOAT. Michael is the GOAT. And you grow up, he lived in North Carolina, so you grow up in North Carolina, it's all Michael Jordan. And when it comes down to it, reason why I would give it to Kobe, possibly because I'm biased, but it's just the fact that I feel like he wanted it at a different level. Like he dropped 55 points on Mike the night Mike was almost close to retirement. Like Michael Jordan would look at Kobe like, yeah, this kid is a real deal. So from that perspective, I don't know what Mike saw in Kobe, but from what he saw, he has this respect to where Mike could be like, this guy, he could be the guy. And just the fact that he did it straight out of high school. Like Michael, he went to college for 3 years. Most guys back in those days, you went to college 2 or 3 years, all 4 years. Kobe came into the league, into the grown man league back then at 17, just ready to take on the world. So I think just from that level is just why I give it to him. Just because I feel as if he would have gone through anybody just to get it. And that's the mentality you have to have. You got to have the mentality to go through anything, no matter what comes up, no matter what's in the way. If everything's falling out to the lay side, you still got to walk on that goal because you can't just sit here and say life happened. Life is always going to happen.
So it must have crushed you a bit when he had his accident, dude.
I cried for about 2 weeks. I actually dedicate my book to Kobe.
That was one of the things I noticed is when it happened, obviously it's huge news. I think was I here? I can't even remember where I was, but how it affected people here. It never got across the UK to me how big he was until obviously he passed. I knew he was a superstar, But I didn't realize until that happened. It seemed to crush a lot of people.
Yeah, it was like Kobe. He was a man, but he died of culture. You know, like he made it cool to be insane for what you want. You know, he made it cool. He made people see what real dedication is. You know, beyond anything. So, like, which is probably why I was in your inbox a lot on Telegram. It's like, hey, Peter,
Knock,
how you
knock.
doing? Yeah, but we'll hit you up again. It's all right. I know you're busy. We'll keep going because at the end of the day, if you don't keep going, what are you going to get? You're not going to get anything.
All right, before we get into this, let's talk a bit about boxing then, because I'm a big boxing fan.
Listen, I learned how to box in prison.
You did?
Yes.
Right, okay.
That was, I talk about that in the book too. So
You learn how to box or you learn how to fight?
I learned how to box in prison.
Okay.
Like so growing up, my mom put me in karate. I remember I won the nationals in karate in like 97. I didn't like karate though.
Okay.
Back in those days, it was all about Mike Tyson.
Yeah.
And so she was so afraid of, well, you get hit in the head. I'm like, well, kids get kicked in the face in karate. Like, what's the difference? But so I always had a love for boxing. But when I was at a particular prison called Caledonia, I noticed that they allowed you to actually train on the yard. And so there were a few guys who had like real boxing experience. And so I approached one of them. And I tell this one story in the book where like this one guy named was Magnetic. And we used to go to the yard and they had like this basketball pole that was like solid metal, had like a little cushion around it. And so we would wrap our hands with socks and gardening hose. And that was the first punching bag I ever punched was a steel beam. I punched it so many times, my whole hand is shaped over. I remember one time I couldn't write, but I boxing in prison meant so much than what I thought. So when I came home, I joined the gym, and it's a different level. So
You still boxing?
I still box. I haven't had any fights, but I still box.
So who's your guy?
You mean actively or all time?
Give me both.
All time is Mayweather.
Not sure, man. I'm not sure.
Are you upset about the Ricky Hatton?
I was at that fight.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, the first fight I ever went to was Ricky Hatton, Floyd Mayweather in Vegas.
Wow.
Yeah, I was like 26, and a bunch of us flew out for it. And the funny thing was, I had my friend's wedding on the Friday, and the fight was on the Saturday. And I was like trying to say to my friend, "Can I leave the wedding early to catch a flight to Vegas?" And he was like, "You're my best man." No. So I had to fly on the morning of the fight, and I had to connect in. Where did I connect? I think it might have been Atlanta.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and my flight landed 3 hours before the actual fight, so there was no room for error.
Right.
But luckily, I didn't go to the fight. I'll tell you a funny story about that. So obviously, Ricky Hatton lost, and we. Sorry if my dad's listening. We went to strip club afterwards. We went to Spearmint Rhinos,
Right.
and there was this big commotion. And then came Mayweather with his entourage. And I was with my business partner, Ollie, and I said, "Listen, I'm going to go and talk to him." He's like, "Really?" I was like, "Yeah, fuck it." So I went up and said hello, and you know what? He was just so nice.
Yeah.
Like, and I said to him at the time, I was like, "You're like a really nice guy, but on TV, you like a bit of a knob. What's that's about?" And he's like, "I'm just selling fights." But he was really nice. So I got to meet him again at Bitcoin 2022.
Ah.
So I like him. I think he's a great boxer. I don't think he's the greatest ever, but there's one fight he would have lost.
Which one?
He should have lost. There was the one fight, I can't remember the name. The guy was fighting, the ref pulled him apart, the ref was talking to him, the guy had his hands
you're
down.
talking about Victor Ortiz.
Yeah, I think he was going to lose that fight.
I tell you one thing, man. People ask me about that fight, and I say this. There's Floyd, again, when you stay focused and know exactly what it is, the one thing the referee says is hands up at all times.
I know all that. I know all this, but I think he was going to lose that fight. I think it was behind.
He was behind with the Marcos Maidana fight, and that's
first or second one.
Definitely the first one,
because I was at the second one. I've seen him twice. You've just brought up the two. I was at the second one because Amir Khan was on the undercard.
Okay.
So I went out for that.
Yeah, I remember Amir Khan.
Yeah.
He had lightning fast hands.
Yeah, he would have been a problem for Mayweather.
Mm-hmm. You think so?
Yeah, just because towards the end of Mayweather's career, wasn't really knocking people out.
Mm-hmm.
And so if it comes down to points, he's fighting Amir Khan. They're both going toe to toe. Amir's fast. Amir can land.
I mean, he's fast, but his chin was very.
I know he was suspect, but it would have been a good fight.
It would have been great.
But I think he loses the Ortiz fight. I think he was going to lose that fight. I know it's controversial.
It's all good.
Well, listen, look, I think also if you think best pound for pound at their peak, I would say Tyson.
Ooh, Tyson? Really?
At his peak.
I would say this. Tyson was an animal. But if you didn't fear Tyson, then he knew. If you didn't fear Tyson, then he feared you. Like when I was watching the Holyfield documentary, Holyfield said it himself, he said, man, this guy's nothing. And he said his mama gave him some of the best boxing advice. She said, the cat likes to chase, or the cat likes to chase. Don't give him nothing to chase. And so I noticed that when he would go against guys who did not care nothing about him, I'm not going to say he folded, but we just didn't get the results that we thought we were going to get. But yeah, Tyson was a guy who put boxing on that level in the 90s. And now we have your other guy, Tyson Fury.
Yeah, big fight. Who's your money on?
Money on? I want Wilder to win. But if we're talking about money, I don't bet with my heart or emotions.
I mean, if he wins, we get a fourth fight.
Right. And they're going to retire each other.
Yeah, but that's potential. So I think Tyson Fury won both fights. I think
think so?
Yeah, if you watch the first fight, it wasn't a draw. I think without the knockdown in the last round, Tyson definitely wins.
Right.
The knockdown was maybe what brought it back.
When I saw him get knocked down, I was like, all right.
He's done.
I thought he was knocked out. Then like he rose up off the canvas. I was like, damn. But I knew that right when that happened, that was going to be a draw because it was so tight. And, referees nowadays.
He came up like The Undertaker.
Yeah, like just boom. I was like, wow. I know Wilder was shocked himself, but.
I think he won that fight. The second one was convincing. I think Tyson Fury is a better boxer. I think Tyson Fury
he definitely beats a boxer. He's one of the best big boxers.
Yeah.
Like when he beat I watched him when he beat Klitschko.
So I was at that fight.
You ate all the fights. When I was watching him dancing around the ring, I said, who is this big dude dancing like this and just pow, 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 pow?
Against Klitschko, he was 5-1 on that fight.
What, underdog?
Yeah, no one gave him a chance.
Klitschko was too stiff. He just had that stiff look, and when it comes down to it, I know if you have better footwork and you're at that size, and he could just move. Like, he can move. He's going to be a problem for anybody. And, you guys did hold all the belts in the heavyweight division. How you feel about Joshua?
I mean, I'm not a huge fan of Joshua. I don't dislike him. I've seen him fight a couple of times. I saw him fight Klitschko at Wembley. It was very early in his career. He's fighting Wembley, and he comes out for the fight, and they have this platform, and he walks onto this platform, and this platform lifts him up in the sky, and all these lights shine. And I was like, this is a bit early for this.
Yeah.
You know, I know you're like the Olympic champion. He was a gold champion, I'm pretty sure. I know you were Olympic champion, and I know you're like the big Paul and you're selling out Wembley, but I only think he'd had about 10, 12 fights at that point. I'm not sure the number, but it's just me and my son were watching it. I was like, this is too much right now. It's something you do maybe towards the end of you. Actually, I don't think it's something you ever do. I think it's just a bit much. And then obviously against Ruiz, we saw it.
I thought about actually putting money on Andy Ruiz. I looked at it. I said, I should. Didn't even do it.
Well, I think the reason he just lost his last fight to Usyk is because of the Ruiz fight. Because if you watch, he used to go out and just like punch people in the head, and he just got hit by a lucky punch. He got hit by a worldie by Ruiz, and then what happens is when he has the rematch with Ruiz, he can't lose that fight.
Right.
So if you watch it, it's the first time he really boxes. He uses his jab, he keeps his distance, and makes sure he can hold him back, and he wins it on points.
Right.
I think what happens is he's carried a lot of that technique into the Usyk fight, and he's keeping off. He's trying to box him, and he's he's more of a fighter than a boxer.
Yeah.
Whereas like Tyson Fury is more of a boxer than a fighter.
Mhm.
So I think that's why he lost to Usyk. And I think he has to go back to the drawing board. And I think he can beat Usyk. But
One thing Usyk did good was he used his feet a lot.
Yeah.
Like he wasn't even running, but he was just always making sure Joshua turns. And if you know how to use your feet and the next guy, he can't punch and move and be effective like he wants, it's gonna be a problem. Like another thing, I don't necessarily know. Well, he might have. I don't know how much experience Joshua had fighting Hispanic fighters. Like, so I've boxed against Mexicans, Puerto Ricans, all different types of Hispanic fighters, and they don't stop. You can hit them in the head.
Mhm.
They could be flatline dead. This man will get up off the canvas. So, it was a different level of will that.
But when you're that size, Joshua, you've got to go and start punching.
Yeah.
And he didn't. And then I thought it was a poor performance. I think they all did.
Mm-hmm.
He's got a rematch. And if he loses that, I mean, I'm trying to wonder how this goes now. Wilder can beat Fury. He just has to land a couple of big bombs.
Mm-hmm.
We know he can knock him down.
Right.
But I think the way this goes, I think Tyson Fury wins.
Mm-hmm.
I think Joshua then fights Wilder. I think Joshua has to beat Usyk to get the Tyson Fury fight, but I think he might not. So I think he fights Wilder, and then Fury fights Usyk, and then gets all the belts and then retires.
That wouldn't be a bad idea. I mean, because Joshua messed up by not taking the fight when he had a chance with Wilder. You had a belt, Wilder held a belt. We could have gotten a fight. Everybody thought they could pull out the Mayweather-Pacquiao strategy, and you cannot. You cannot. Boxing is not that forgiving. So that sounds like a plan. I mean, if I was Tyson Fury at this stage, be undisputed, you beat everybody. You don't have to fight Joshua, even though you might just do it for the fans. But I mean, hell, if you lose too many fights, you just lose your opportunity. And that's what it's looking like with Joshua. You got two losses. Very good still fighter, but I mean, he got a lot in the tank. But I heard people say, hell, he should start looking at retirement. But I don't know, man. Like Tyson Fury, but I think if they do get the fight with Usyk, if he does get past Wilder, then there's probably no more he can do in the heavyweight division.
Is it referred to with the undisputed champion? Is it the lineal champion? What was that? I'm so bad with terms.
They have so many different types
lineal,
of belts.
Because he used to refer to himself as the lineal champion. I said, does that mean you got all the belts? Or?
Nah, lineal is like I forgot what that was.
But
undisputed. Once he gets undisputed, that's when he'll have the WBC, the IBF, the IBO, the WBA. So by then he'll be the king of the boxing world.
So do you want to come on Saturday?
Hey, I'll go.
Let me see if I can get you a ticket where we are. If I can get you a ticket, you come and you should come and join us. There's a good few of us going, right?
I'll go.
All right, listen, there's going to be a bunch of people listening going, what the fuck are you talking about? I want to hear for some Bitcoin shit. All right, listen, this situation where your mum lost her house, that's obviously a terrible thing to go through as a kid and terrible for your mum. One of those awful situations. But I guess that was like the first time you realized there's something wrong with the money, right? How much did you understand about what was going on?
At that point in time, I did not.
Nope.
I didn't really have too much financial literacy on the matter. I just know that we lost the house and we had to, stay with a few friends, and we were trying to get another house. So at that point in time, I didn't have too much knowledge on how it all happened. It wasn't until I looked back later years where I could piece things together and really notice, like, damn, I was affected by that housing market crash, even though it happened early. Now, one thing I will say that happened within that was I started trying to find trends early. Like, because it's like, all right, if we got hit up in 2006, 2007, but everybody's talking about it from 08, 09, that means there are precursors that take place that if you pay attention to those, that you can be ahead of the rest of the world. So that's how I opened up my mind to the situation. But at that present moment, I didn't know what to do.
I guess you look back now and you understand a little bit more. Okay, man, let's talk about bars. Let's talk about again what happened. Okay, so in with the wrong crowd or just
wrong crowd situation, man.
Yeah.
People that I normally didn't even hang out with. That was even a different crowd. So it was a situation where when you're that young, you're trying to figure out how do you think quick money is a thing, right? Kind of like how people doing shitcoin lately.
Shitcoins, yeah, that's exactly what I was thinking.
Shitcoiners think they can get quick money, but quick money never works.
Nope.
And that's another reason why Bitcoin was an easier decision, other than shitcoins. Because shitcoins, and I know I'm going off, but shitcoins just give you the feeling like you always gotta do work. You gotta be on this trend. You gotta see this. You know what the hell? But
Well, Bitcoin's easy, right? You just buy like the easiest strategy: stack Bitcoin, put in cold storage, go to work, earn money. That is the easiest strategy, and you can compound everything 200% a year on average. That's the number we tend to say. I don't know if that will continue at that rate, but like it's a very easy strategy. Shitcoining is a tough strategy because it's stressful. Should I have bought? Should I have sold? Stressful.
Then do I have liquidity? Do you even know what that means? Probably they don't. But with the house and that situation, I was just trying to find quick money, and the people around me, everyone seemed to think like, well, the only way you can be successful now is you have to go chase quick money. You have to go do something that's pretty much illegal. And I tried that path.
So it was you say a home invasion? Is that a burglary?
Like it's just like a breaking and entering.
Breaking and entering. Were you all armed?
Yeah.
Yeah.
They were armed.
Okay.
And so
pretty serious stuff.
It was serious. I was 20 years old, and when I really realized that, number one, wasn't nothing in this damn house, I'm like, wow, like what have you gotten yourself into?
Was there anyone there at the home when you went?
There was someone there. There was someone there.
Wow. Okay.
And so, after a while, I'm just like, man, I left. One of the person lost the keys to the car. I like, bro, you know what? I'm gone. Like it's nothing here, and it's not what I thought. Okay. So that reality hit in that moment. And then from there, I had gone on the run a few times, just going from different places, different friends' house, staying on couches. And then when I had come home one weekend, I remember getting a knock on the door, and my mom said, it's the police. I said, damn. So the first thing I did, I threw my remote control halfway around the room. I didn't want them to think I had a gun. And then they came in the house with guns drawn, asked me to show my hands, and I just surrendered. And that's when the process of me going to prison started.
Okay. What happened with mom though? Did she lose her shit?
I actually told her before the police got there.
Okay.
It just started getting to me like, damn, I can't keep holding this from my mom.
Okay.
If it's anybody in the world, I don't mind telling. I gotta tell my mom.
Okay.
Because I didn't want I didn't want it to be that surprising. So I did tell her way before it happened. And then when it did happen, it was a reality check. And that's just when like I said in the book, I said one time, this is when I really knew I fucked up. Like, because the worst thing was how my mom was looking. And I know
the look of a mom.
Yeah, and I was like, damn, I don't want her to believe that she failed as a mother. I just made a wrong decision and the cost. So yeah.
Okay, so you get arrested. Do you get bail, or was it just like a straight?
I got bailed out. Like I got bailed out. But that process of going to prison, like once you're in that process of the system, your mind goes through a lot of different things. Sometimes it's kind of like, let's look at it like this. Like since COVID, how many times have you thought like, oh, I can go do this, I can do that. But then you got to remember like, oh man, we got this COVID thing going on. We don't know how this is going to go. So what you perceive as normal has now been shifted. That's kind of the same for me. I was like, well, yeah, we can go out and we can hang out, we can do this. But it's like, I can't make plans past a certain time period because I don't know what's going to happen. You
were always going to plead guilty?
I actually didn't necessarily think about it. After a while, I was actually approached with a deal because everyone that was involved started pointing fingers. And I was just like, well, I didn't necessarily want to plead, but it was just, really, I didn't know what to do.
Mm-hmm.
And it was to the point like, all right, well, what if I take it to trial? Didn't know what to do. So eventually I just said, well, when it came down to it, I was already somewhere in my mind prepared to go to prison. And you get to a point where you're just ready to get it all over with.
Okay. So how much time did you get?
I got 3 years.
3 years.
From 21 to 24.
And do you remember the moment where they're like, when they handed that down?
Oh, yeah. I remember the moment. The judge, this is why a lot of people can say things to me that won't really matter. I remember a judge said, well, Justin, it looks like you're trying to, do some good work in the community. You want to turn your life around. But, man, this is a home invasion. And so I got to sentence you to 20 to 33 years consecutively. And in my mind...
Months.
Yeah. Jesus Christ.
Dude.
Yeah, 20 to 33 months.
You'd have gray hair if we were doing it then.
And so I was like, okay. I thought consecutive meant concurrent. So I thought, all right, I can do a year and 8 months. It's cool. That's what's up. The attorney I had came back there. I said, so yeah, I'll be out a year, 8 months. This is great. She said, no, consecutive means they run together. And so she said, no, it means you do one after the other.
Yeah.
And I'm like, so what do you mean? She said, I said 40, 12, 24. I said, you mean I gotta do 3 years in this motherfucker? She said, yeah. And I was like, damn. So when that set in, my mom came down to the bullpen area, crushed. And, I think something just turned off, like nothing bad. But she said, so what are you gonna do? I said, well, I just gotta go. I'm gonna go to prison, grow dreads, and I'll figure it out in 3 years. And that's where that whole entire journey took place. Going to prison, going to the youth spread, you're hearing everybody say, this is what's gonna happen. You gotta do this or this, that, and third. And somewhere in my mind, I'm thinking like, I'm not about to go through none of this shit y'all are talking about. Like, I wasn't a gang member. Like, I didn't mind fighting, but when I had gone to prison, I started noticing, like, I still noticed a place where I could win. And I was still looking for a way to win. Didn't matter where I was at. I'm always focused on how do I win. When I got locked up in prison, on the way there, I was just thinking like, well, Justin, hell, you hit rock bottom. There's nowhere to go but up. So how you gonna even figure out how you gonna go up while in prison? How are you gonna figure out how to win while in prison? If you have 3 years to do this, then what are we gonna put together? Because, another favorite athlete of mine is Tom Brady. And you like Tom?
I mean, he's a bit of a shitcoiner now, isn't he? No, I like Tom. How can you dislike Tom Brady? He's the only pro sportsman, elite sportsman by age, probably up there, and
still winning.
Dude, he crushes it. He's a nice guy. Mm-hmm. He's married to one of the most beautiful people in the world. Like he's everything. Mm-hmm. No, I like Tom Brady. Yeah. The only thing was the thing I like about US sports is the draft system. Mm-hmm. It means you distribute the winners a bit more. Whereas in the UK, we don't. It's just the same teams winning the Premier League all the time. Like we had this team Leicester who won a few years ago, which was this miracle. Absolute sporting miracle. But otherwise, it's going to be Liverpool, United, Chelsea, Arsenal, Man City, and never Tottenham, but like any of the others. And so the only thing was it just felt like the Patriots were always winning. It's just
you got to do. I'll tell you this. I actually the first time I decided what NFL team I was going to like, it was in 97. It was the Green Bay Packers versus New England Patriots in the Super Bowl. Drew Bledsoe was a quarterback. Reggie White was sacking them all over the damn field. And someone said, well, if you're going to choose a team, you might as well choose one now. I said, I'm going to choose the blue team. I chose the Patriots in 97. They got their ass whooped in the Super Bowl. Then a few years later, they get their first one, and we do 6 more. But
49ers is who I picked. So when they first started showing football in the UK, we used to get one game on a Sunday. Mm-hmm. And it was back when I got the tail end of Joe Montana, and there was Steve Young, Jerry Rice. And I was just like, all right, I'm going to go with them. They're cool, they're winning.
Yeah. And so like within that, When I was looking, one thing I liked about sports though, I would like how, like, even Kobe he'll pull games back. Like, how do you come back?
Mhm.
There's almost an art to how, like, comebacks. Like, you can't really explain it, but Tom has a way of coming back. It's just, you notice. I started. You watch so many games and winning that, okay, yeah, we won 6 Super Bowls at that time. We won like 3 Super Bowls at the very end, but it's like, where do you start noticing the shift? Like I said earlier, it's always a shift. So I had to just start focusing on that shift. And when I got to prison, this is the shift. So it's like, now you got to piece together, how are you going to come back? It doesn't matter that you're here.
When was it that you went in? What year?
2011.
2011. Okay.
Mhm.
And which prison did you go to? Where were you sent to?
So I had first gotten sent to a youth spread called Polk Correctional Youth Institution. And they house like people 21 and under.
Okay.
And so then from there I had gone to this one prison called Craggy, which is in Asheville, North Carolina. I actually got kicked out of there. That was funny.
You got kicked out of prison?
Yeah, I got kicked out of prison. I didn't want to work, man. They were like, yeah, you got to do roll squad. Like, man, I'm not here to work, man. I'm here to do time. And we ain't going to be able to do it here. So then they sent me on to a prison called Mountain View. I was there for like a year and some change. That's where I did a lot of like deep dive studying of myself. I started like training hard, like just doing the time. And also, this is a real funny story. We used to always hustle. Like, you always had commerce going on. If your family can't send you no money, you have to be able to hit that yard every day and go out there, find a way to do business, whether that's selling gambling tickets, lending out canteen, like a lending platform, but just how do you always keep money circulating? And that was something that really just kept my mind off of things. Like, it was a constant cycle, working out, hustling on the yard, doing business, whatever, just every single day. And that translated into what I do now, So, but when I had gone to prison, my only focus was, how the hell am I gonna get better at life? I already made a decision not to come back here. So we're gonna have to do something that's gonna put us on a different level when we get out. So when people ask me, so what you gonna do when you get home? I said, bro, I don't know. I don't know what's out there. People would send me letters saying, man, ain't much change, but hell, Bitcoin's around the whole damn time. But
we'll come back to the Bitcoin thing. So in jail, did you have to deal, like, how rough were these prisons? Were they middle of the road?
Most prisons were, they were medium custody prisons. I never got to go to a lower custody prison. I actually got in a fight, and that stopped me from being able to go. I never went to a higher custody prison, but the prison I was in, one of the roughest prisons on probably other people, was this prison called Caledonia. That's the same prison I learned how to box at.
Okay.
And there, I've seen guys. I had a roommate one time. He said, man, this dude is getting on my damn nerves. I'm gonna hit him with a lock in the sock. I'm like, oh, all right. And then one day he came in the room. He had like a master lock in his sock. The guy was still messing with him again. And he just hit him in the head with it. And it was some blood in the room. I cleaned it up. I said, bro, you got to act normal as possible when they come in here. They ended up, sending him to the hole. He told him I had nothing to do with it, but like, I've seen some wild stuff. This one guy, I think he either he did something. He cut a guy or stabbed a guy just so he could be, have some gang rank right before he was going home. I've seen a lot of crazy stuff in there. But most of the prisons, like I said, Mountain View was pretty even going. Caledonia was still easy going, but you could tell like any moment something could happen.
You're obviously a smart dude. You're obviously one of those people who it was only going to be a one-time trip to prison, right? You're not going to end up back there, but people do end up in the cycle.
Mm-hmm.
What did you learn from the inside about prisons and what works, what doesn't work?
One thing I learned about prison was like, When you mean work, just like in life or
Yeah,
the
like
system?
what because in an ideal world, we wouldn't have a lot of people in prison, certainly not
Right.
non-violent criminals. I just did a previous interview with a guy called Oric, and we were talking about, originally we were talking about the medical system and how that works, and why it doesn't work in the US. And the main reason being is most of the hospitals is where the money goes to, and it's not popular for a politician to try and make these more efficient because they're one of the biggest recruiters. And it just reminded me of this story where I spent some time with Lynn Ulbricht, Ross Ulbricht's mother, and she works on prison reform and the idea of prison reform. And she said a lot of the prisons are the largest employers in the towns they're in, so there's no incentive to reduce the prison population. It is an industrial unit. So in an ideal world, you'd have people reformed in prison, leaving prison, and being educated and not going back. And also you would be trying to have lower sentences or no sentences for non-violent criminals, different ways of rehabilitating people. What did you learn from it?
Well, number one, I actually met Miss Lynn Albright too.
Yeah, she's great, right?
Yeah, she's a great woman. So one of the things I learned is exactly how you said, and I agreed with Lynn as well. All the prisons I had gone to were in like these small towns, right? And so the entire town works at the prison. And they would say like, hell, I've been here, working here 10 years, so it's felt like I've been locked up 5 years. These were the people who worked there would say. So on that end, there is really no incentive. However, the real incentive is the people who make money off of prison. I think the state of North Carolina would make like $36,000 per inmate per year. So that's a lot of damn money. I noticed that part. And I noticed that money, like you're actually put into a system where you see like, hey, we're not going to give you shit. We're going to get all the money. And you're not going to get nothing. I worked jobs in prison that paid $1 a day.
$1 a day. I mean,
$1. That's like what? A few cents an hour. So I noticed that a lot of times you have prisons where the work that the prison is actually legal slavery.
Yeah, it's a factory.
Yeah, they actually have been granted permission to say that and do that. Like, for instance, there is this program where guys would actually go build the prison, and they'll pay the guys $15 a week. And I'm like, yo, this is a $15 an hour at the minimum job. And look how much they're saving for inmates to build their own prison.
And so the money from that, the prison keeps the operators of the prison keep the difference.
I think the operators of the prison, or either that, or they are able to pay whatever company is going to help train, those guys who get paid $15 a week. I don't know where all the money goes, but when you really start looking at it, there's a lot of money that goes there, and it's on purpose. It doesn't go to the inmates. It doesn't go to anybody being rehabilitated. It just goes to the pockets of whoever's there.
It's such an obvious scam. Like, it's such an obvious scam. Yeah. You put people in prison, you give them jobs, you pay them $1. Did you say $1 an hour or a day?
I got paid $1 a day.
$1 a day.
So that accounts to like, what's 8 divided by 24? It's almost like 5 cents an hour.
Right.
We go with 5 cents an hour for 8 hours. Almost like.
So, and that's, you have like a few dollars to spend in the, what's it called?
The canteen.
Yeah. And there's obviously incentive for someone, whether it's the prison, maybe it's the, what kind of things were you doing? What kind of work? Were you making shit?
So I was a baker. I was a prep cook. I washed dishes. I basically worked the only type of work I did was in the kitchen.
But that's internal for running the prison. What about, because are there firms who are like outsourcing production?
Well, in North Carolina, at the prisons I was at, I can't say which firms there were like precisely, but I do know of like, let's see, I think more times or not, it happens with the state. Like, so let's take for instance road work. So I did do that at least one time. Normally that road squad, that's for the city, that's for the county, that's for the state. So most of the work that inmates do, they are going to be for that state. Now, whomever that state prison, whatever companies might fund that state prison, then they might receive proceeds down the line on that front. But more times than not, the work you're doing is for the state of North Carolina. Like they have positions where you could be a butler for the governor. Yeah, I didn't want that, but but it's from what I remember, most of this stuff was just for the state.
Right.
So you would go clean up the yard. You got to go anything you're gonna do. I think one guy, they were canning food on this one farm, and this farm produced food for all the other prisons in the state. So you would have these like private companies, some that you probably would never know about, and they're having whatever or arrangement they have worked out.
The incentive structure to have a business of prisons, it just seems wrong.
Mm-hmm.
It just seems it's open for abuse.
It is. It's open for a monopoly.
Well, listen, I'm glad you're out.
Yes, sir.
Tell me about the day you got out.
The day I got out of prison, man.
What's the first thing you did?
What's the first thing I did? Oh, okay, when I got home, I remember my mom had made some food. I ate that shit cold as hell. I ain't even wait for it to heat up. I had a phone, and the first thing I did, man, I really experienced what gratitude was. You know, I just want to feel what it's like to be home. Like I didn't go out. I think I stayed up till like 6. I stayed up all night, but I just wanted to remember what it was like not to have to wake up for count time. I was just in the middle of gratitude. So it wasn't no big crazy party or nothing. It was just like, damn, like it's finally over. And now the journey really begins.
So when did Bitcoin come into this for you? Was it while you were in?
Nah, it wasn't while I was in prison. So Bitcoin came in several plays. So I came home in 2014. 2015, I first see the movie Dope.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't really click over that it's legit. But it started happening when, now this is the one part I'm trying to remember. I think, so you know this guy. One day I'm in Charlotte. I'm at a gas station. I'm walking up and I hear somebody say, Justin. I'm like, who the hell is that? He said, it's me, Isaiah.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
Isaiah Jackson.
He wrote the book Bitcoin Black America.
Mm-hmm. So
Great dude.
I've been knowing Isaiah since I was 11 years old.
Oh, right. Okay.
We grew up playing basketball together.
Who's better?
Me. Come on. Like, I'm better now.
Will he agree? Will I ask him?
I mean, he should, but he won't.
I'll dial him up now and say, look.
Call him. I'll tell you one thing. In 2021, I made 13 threes and flip-flops at the three-point shootout. So, you know, I'm all right. So, but he was saying...
Is that 13 in a straight? Or?
Like, I didn't make them all straight, but I did catch fire at the end. I think I made like 6 in a row.
Okay.
But, you know, it went down in Bitcoin 2021 history. So what else happened? But from there, I was just like, all right, man. You know, we were catching up. He said, how you been? I was telling him about, you know, I just come home from prison, this, that, and the third. And he said, all right, follow me on Instagram. Bitcoin Day. I'm like, all right, whatever. And so then a week or a month passed by. I'm at my granddaddy's house, and he has a miner, like old school miner. And I was like, what is that on the table? He said, Justin, it's going to mine me some Bitcoin. And my granddaddy's like 80-something, you know what I mean? And I was like, okay. And my mom and aunt were laughing at him. But I looked at him like I was fresh out of prison. I'm like, well, what if he's right, though? I said, what if he's right?
How the fuck did he get into Bitcoin mining? That's what I want to know.
I don't know. Later, after he passed, we found out that it wasn't mining any Bitcoin. But he would, like, my granddaddy was a very, like, disruptive, innovative type of person.
Okay.
He bought stocks in the Microsoft in the 90s, Enterprise. He sold, he didn't hodl, but it was all good. But from there, I looked it up. It looked legit. But my real introduction to Bitcoin is getting scammed.
Right, okay.
Right. So I remember it was this company called, well, not a company. It was this site called coins.com. Mm-hmm. They were claiming to be a British lending platform that you can receive compound interest over this time, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, okay, you know, My mom told me about it, seemed legit. I said, let's try it out. I told Zay, I said, man, listen, man, check this out, bro. How you think this is gonna work? Zay said, you're about to get scammed.
Yeah, of course they are.
Yeah, so then I said, how you know? He said, ask for your money back. I asked for my money back. Email stopped coming, all this stuff. He said, I told you. I said, all right, well, I didn't care that I got scammed though, because people get scammed. You were getting scammed with fiat before Bitcoin, but you didn't stop using it. So I was like, all right, well, and I knew Zay was legit. I said,
Zay
all right.
is legit, man.
So I was like, all right, Zay. And this is 2016. So I was like, all right, man. I'm like, yo, I'm ready. Just what do I need to do? So one day, I went over his house. We were just hanging out. And he said, all right, well, this is what Bitcoin is. It's decentralized currency. No, he said in this order, he said, well, it's like gold. If you hold it over time, it'll go up in value. You can spend it like money, kind of like regular cash. He said, and it's decentralized, so it's outside of government regulation and control. And I was like, that decentralized part stuck out.
Outside of government control. Tell me more.
I'm gonna tell you why it stuck out though. So in prison, like I said before, you have to do a lot of hustling.
Yep.
Now you have ID cards, and if your family can't send you no money, well, you have an ID card, but it's kind of like a debit card. If they send you money, you can swipe it at the canteen and use it. If they can't send you money, then you have to use another currency. That currency was stamps. And so we would have small, like postage stamps on the yard. That was money. And so I think that at that point in time, the U.S. postage stamp was like 44 cents. And so on the yard, we cut the price to like 30 to 35 cents. So everything was a bit cheaper, but the value was stamps. So I was already used to using decentralized money, as you will, in a closed economy amongst people.
Interesting.
So when he said that, I'm like, my mind, like when I'm trying to learn something new, I would place it in an environment I've been in. So I was like, well, let's look at like, if I put Bitcoin in prison, how would that look? That's how, it would just go around like that. So I said, well, shit, this can work. Like Bitcoin was like 7 years old then. I said, yeah, Bitcoin can work. Like, this can work. Because I was already in a field where you aren't really using the said currency. You have people who had a consensus saying like, hey, this is what we're going to use. So I was like, all right, yeah, this can work. This could work. So from there, that was the introduction, man. And
when was that, like 2015?
I bought my first sats July 9th, 2016.
2016.
Right. And the type of jobs I was working, Bitcoin was around $600 then.
Yeah, I remember.
I still couldn't buy a whole If I bought a whole Bitcoin then, I probably wouldn't have no more money for the rest of the month.
Yeah.
So I was like, it didn't matter though. It never mattered. So when I first bought some Bitcoin, I had never seen like my money just move like that. I was like, damn, this is what investing is like. Seeing what this was like. And I was like, all right. And then I started looking at something deeper. I ran into this other guy named D. Miller L. And he would teach me about Bitcoin all the time too. And then I started looking at something past the money. I said, there's an opportunity here. Because I remember I was with my daughter and I said, man, I got tired of working all the dead-end jobs. I used to work $12 an hour, 12 hours a day. I seen a guy get like a light bulb bust in his eye, no insurance. So they weren't really treating you fair. And I was like, all right, cool, but we got to do something different. So.
How old's your daughter?
Now she's 5.
She's 5.
Right.
So, you missed that bit.
Huh?
Have you got one kid?
No, I have a little boy too.
And how old is he?
He's 1.
Woohoo, you're in that zone.
Yeah. He's whooping ass too.
Yeah. My son's 17, my daughter's 11, but it's man, it's fun.
It's gonna get there. He's finally going to bed at 9. So I gotta write that out. But so from there, I was like, all right, well, let's see how am I gonna get more Bitcoin? That was it. It was all about buying Bitcoin because I saw the opportunity. Like I said, I remember walking with my daughter. I said, yo, I need to be somewhere early. My question was, how are all these people getting billions of dollars? How is Zuckerberg getting this money? How is Bezos? How is Elon? How are these people getting this money? Like, how are they doing this? And then I started realizing something I was looking for was those trends again, like being early. So I said, yo, I remember before I learned about Bitcoin, I said, man, I just need to be involved in something that if I get there early enough, it could change my life forever. And so when Zay was telling me about it, I would look online. I asked some guys I had gone to school with who graduated, and I live in Charlotte. So Charlotte's like a big finance city. And I'm asking people around, everyone's dogging Bitcoin. It's nothing, it's trash, it's this. Those were my indicators.
Still are, man.
Yeah. And those were my indicators to go. I'm like, all right, well, y'all aren't that smart because billionaires like Branson, Mark Cuban was actually for Bitcoin at this time. I remember a guy named Trace Mayer. A lot of guys were talking.
Trace Mayer, man. Oh, you know what? I miss Trace. I do. I miss Trace.
All right.
I've interviewed him 3 or 4 times. And I still don't know what fully happened at that event in Vegas where he was like shilling some shitcoin. And I don't know why, like in my head, he was like, this guy's like rich. Like, what's going on? And I've tried to reach out to him. I've messaged him, no reply. I know he did a CoinDesk thing. I want to talk to him. I miss Trace. I know he fucked up in people's eyes, but I want to know why.
Yeah, you got to find out
He's smart.
Because I remember he was the first guy I ever heard say, hey, what if America put 1% of their national debt into Bitcoin? I heard this in 2016. I was like, damn.
Wow. They wouldn't have this $29 trillion deficit.
Yeah. So I'm like, all right, so I'm hearing these guys talk. I'm like, well, let's run with what these guys are saying. And then that's where I started noticing how life was really taking off. I would call Zay, I would call my friend D, my boy D, almost every day. I remember I would be, because in prison, one thing I learned I knew how to do was learn. If you ever ask me what I'm the 1% at, it's learning. I focused on increasing the skill of learning. So when it came to Bitcoin, I was like, man, yo, I was in my mom's basement. You'll probably see me, like how they say, a shadowy coder. I'm just on YouTube learning Bitcoin, trial and error, everything. Like I said, I used to go out and teach people just simple ways to set up a wallet. I remember one time I asked someone, yo, how can I get some Bitcoin? He said, well, sell some Bitcoin. I don't have any. He said, they don't know that. Tell them you're going to go buy them some Bitcoin, put a premium on it, and keep the Bitcoin. I did that before the feds deemed that illegal.
Right.
So, yeah, but it was always about getting Bitcoin, man. I remember
it sounds like it's back to the hustle of the prison yard.
But it was different because I had a money that worked. And I noticed it from the get-go. I was just like, yo, this thing shoots up. I remember when I was first buying it around $600 and it had gone up. It had crashed badly. It didn't crash that bad. But when I was buying it then, and it started rising up. You know, you got the whole 2016, 2017 run.
Dude, July 2016 is a good point to hit. So I knew it because I first bought my first Bitcoin 2013, maybe even 2012. I can't remember the dates because I was using the Silk Road, right? But I wasn't hodling. I wasn't studying it. I was buying my gear.
Yeah.
And then get on with my life. And I did some trading. I bought, some, I lost some and yada, yada. But I didn't really pay any attention to it. My first Bitcoin was, I think, £80. God. So I should go and track the price back. It's 2012, 2013. Then it crashed. I was like, oh, this thing's dead. And I used to just like keep going back every now and again, looking at the price. And it went all the way down to like, what, 250. Then it started going back up. I was like, oh, I wonder if it is. And for different reasons, I rebought December 16. It was a good time, man. You anywhere around that time, you were good through to the end of 17.
Yeah. And so when it was going up, 20K range, I was like, this is the most money I ever had. And then...
Yeah, I know what's coming.
That bear kicked in. And I was just like, whoa. And the bear market was where I was really made. Because folks stopped talking about Bitcoin. And so I had to look for different ways of entrepreneurship. Like I did coaching. I used to cook vegan food and deliver it out my house to earn Bitcoin. I used to cut grass. Like, only thing I could think about was if I buy more of this now, I'll be better off later. You know, so...
I love the bear market.
I wish it'd come back.
Yeah, that period from top to bottom is always rough because you have to go, right, I have to accept my net wealth is going to drop by this much. And maybe you sell a bit, but like the real work's done in the bear market. It's like, it's the education, it's the business growth, it's personal growth. It's too busy to do stuff in a bull market. There's too much crazy shit going on. I mean, I don't know if we'll have one like previous. Maybe the cycle breaks, but I really enjoyed the bear market.
I can look back on the bear market and just pray for another one, but because I was in a different, like I would buy Bitcoin, but I was still, Bitcoin was my introduction to the financial literacy world.
Mhm.
Like before Bitcoin, I had no investments. Only thing I ever had was a checking and a savings account. So I didn't really understand what was going on, but I knew that that Bitcoin was something that could work. So then I started. Well, I got tired of getting like intellectually beat up by financial advisors or people. So I went to go look at different markets. Didn't necessarily buy. I just want to get educated on what was around
Yeah.
me.
You figured it out yourself.
Yeah. So like I got denied life insurance 3 times because of my record, and my agent said, "So what are you gonna do?" Like, well, shit, I'm just gonna keep buying Bitcoin. I mean, pretty much you're doing the same thing. I'm giving you money. I gotta wait for a return on it, but you get to hold it. Why can't I just do this? I already have an asset that's doing this, So I started comparing it to other assets out there. It still didn't stack up well, or nothing stacked up well to Bitcoin. But I had to learn how to keep it, because there was also a time like I knew I had to develop myself into a better entrepreneur, because I knew I was going to do entrepreneurship. I wasn't about to do any jobs. I had to do entrepreneurship. It was no other way. So I had to get better at that. I had to get better at networking, had to get better at sales calls, had to get better at all of this type of stuff within that bear market time, because I knew the type of money I was making then. If once Bitcoin keeps rising, these little bitty buys here are not going to add. I mean, they add up, but after a while, you start thinking like, damn, I want to flip 10 million Satoshis at a time, DCA 10 million Satoshis at a time. And it's like, well, you're going to have to build a business. But then I had to learn. I had a lot of stuff to learn. So Bitcoin really exposed what I did not know about finances. It helped me like get better real quick. And there's still some things I've been looking to learn. I'm always like, and that's something I talk about in my book. You always got to be open to learn, especially when you don't know nothing. It's cool not knowing something, but it's stupid just to sit there and just try to figure it out on your own. So with Bitcoin, though, when I really understood what it was just like, well, we're going to have to go get it by any means that's legal and ethical. But it was a driving force. And without Bitcoin, I hate to say it, I don't know where the hell I'd be today.
You know what? I feel similar. Because I don't know how much you know, but like anyone who's listening regularly would be like, shut the fuck up, Pete. We've heard this so many times. It's so boring. But like, it's changed my entire life financially and with the podcast. It came along just at the time I needed it. And I went from losing everything, job, family, career, mom, like everything. And then out of it came this podcast and my investments, and completely changed my life. So I understand that, dude. So let's talk about the vegan thing. It is interesting to me because I told you before, I did 16 years vegetarian. And then 2 years vegan, but there was like a gap. So I went 16 to 26 as a vegetarian. Okay. Then I stopped being a vegetarian. And then when I was about 30, I think about 30, I went back to vegetarian. And then when my mum got sick, she went vegan. So I went vegan with her. And I did it with her, but there are like ethical things. There are ethical reasons. I don't like industrial farming. If I knew where all my meat came from, I would be very picky about it. When I'm back home, I only get grass-fed beef, etc. But if you go into dinner at a restaurant, you got no idea. I think industrial farming is fucking gross.
It's really wild. Shit, it's real wild. But yeah, for me, when I had gone vegan, man, I was going hard at my gym, Dime Boxing in Charlotte. And I was getting ready for my very first fight. And I wanted to be like lean and clean and cut. So, the algorithm on Instagram started showing me this guy by the name of Dr. Sabi. And I was like, well, let's give it a shot. He kept talking about, how you eat is a direct correlation with your health. And I said, all right, well, I'm willing to try anything. This was before Bitcoin, like veganism happened before Bitcoin. And I remember I was on a Greyhound bus from Atlanta And I was sitting next to this guy. We were both kind of cramped. So this one woman said, "Hey, you want to sit beside me?" I said, "Sure." Turned out she was a Patriots fan,
Nice.
but she was also vegan. And I was like, "Well, are you willing to help me go vegan?" She said, "Yeah." So she coached me on how to, eat vegan through Snapchat. I would order the food, buy the food, cook it. But it was a big change. It was a big change.
It's
But
hard.
and I wanted that because I was about to have a daughter. I wanted to just introduce her to a different way of eating. Like I noticed that everybody kind of ate the same and then didn't understand, like, why am I gaining so much weight? Why am I having these? I'm like, well, you haven't stopped what you're eating all the time. Like, even if you never go vegan, you can at least like give your body some type of a change just to see what it's like. But during that time, man, I was just ready to change everything. Like, I came home from prison. I wanted to leave everything that I just wanted a big change, and I needed big challenges. Vegan was one of them, and actually going vegan made it easier for me to come into Bitcoin. I started seeing similarities. Like, people would talk shit to me about being vegan. Oh, you eat grass, this, that, and the third. When I got into Bitcoin, oh, you think you know everything about it? It's like, man, I'm catching hell from everybody for years.
Yep.
And they're just like, well, you doing this and this, that, and the third. But then as time goes on, you look like a damn genius. So,
I mean, I was a vegan at the time.
mhm,
I got back into Bitcoin because that was, getting the medical treatment for my mum. And it was probably the healthiest. Some people people listening will be the carnivore types, listening to this
Right.
going, vegans are unhealthy. I've seen it always bullshit. Any diet can be healthy as long as you're doing it in the right way, and
Yeah.
it can be unhealthy. But it was the healthiest I was in my life for a few reasons. Firstly, I was eating clean. I was cooking every single meal fresh veg, and I learned about all these different recipes. But I also, because you had to have a lot of discipline to be a vegan.
Mhm.
So I was quite disciplined at the time. I was disciplined with my time. I was running. I was slim. My times were fast. Like, I was running a 23-minute 5K and
Damn.
53-minute 10K. I couldn't run 5K now. Because,
Damn, 20, that's good.
Yeah, but I was
good.
running. I was like, the guy Rich Roll got me into podcasting. I was listening to his. Like, I felt good. I said many times, Justin, I'm telling you now, I've even as someone who loves a steak, I've thought about going back to being a vegan because I had to have discipline around my time.
Mm-hmm.
And because I had it around my diet, my exercise. My whole life was a lot more disciplined.
Mm-hmm.
So I enjoyed it.
That transition was real great. And I just started noticing, like, well, with veganism, you're eating outside the standard diet. With Bitcoin, you're not using the standard money. And so one day I went on Google, I typed in Bitcoin vegan, nothing came up. I typed in
This guy.
Instagram, nothing came up. I was like, then I called Zay. I said, hey, man, I don't know what I'm about to do, but Bitcoin vegan is going to be the name of it. He said, all right, just run with it. Again, that was in 2016. So here we are again, man. I just started noticing similarities, but I wanted to do something different. Like, I wanted everything. I wanted the hardships. I wanted the challenge because I knew that's the only way you're going to get it. Like, you weren't going to, I needed something new. You know what I mean? When I came home from prison, I told someone, like, man, if I can go to Harvard, I would, because I wanted a challenge. But Bitcoin came around. It was like, this is all you need. This is the only challenge you need right here. And that was those moments right there, 2016, 2015, 2016, 2017, were some real defining moments in my life. I was like 24, 25. And I was just like, man, whatever you do, you got to do it now, because you're mid-20s. You can still, like, in your 30s, you got to make a run. You know what I mean? And if you make the run now, you won't be all the way up into your 30s, still trying to figure it out. You'll still be relatively young in the business and investment world. So you got to make moves immediately. And that's what I saw. So I had to just make that shot, man.
Worked out for you.
Yes, sir. Yes,
When did you write the book?
So I wrote the book in the middle of the pandemic.
Right, man.
What was funny, I was challenged to write the book by
Zay.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm. Knew that was coming.
So when he got his first national interview, I called him up. I said, man, congrats, bro, all this, that, and third. He didn't even say you're welcome. He didn't even say thank you. He said, so when you gonna write your book? I was like, well, I ain't think about it. He said, well, you need to think about it. I was like, all right. And Zay has this weird way like of saying things. It's like, you might want to do this. I was like, all right. Then I had a business coach. Her name was Jen Godet. She said, Justin, when are you gonna write a book? I was like, well, shit, damn. If two people tell me something that don't know each other, I take it as a sign of, all right, let's get it going. So when I think I first started putting ink to paper around April 2020, because I was just trying to find a stopping point. And at first I used to wake up at 5 a.m., write for about an hour every morning until I was like, man, this shit is going to take forever. And I'm like, bro, it's 2020, there has to be a better way to write a book now. So then I said, well, let's try to transcribe it. So I would talk into my phone, and I was still DoorDash. Like I was driving DoorDash for a living and to get Bitcoin. But especially once COVID really, really hit, DoorDash was what I was doing. You can make so much money in a short amount of time without wasting your gas because no one was going anywhere. And I was like, well, this is a good time to do that and buy Bitcoin. But while I would DoorDash, I would record me talking into the phone, which chapter I'm on, stop it. Then I would get all the chapters laid out. I would edit them, copy, paste it on the Google Doc form, and send it off. When I had everything together, I gave it to my editor, Miss Erica. And from there, it was just part of the process, man. So the book, I started writing the book in 2020. And sometimes people say, well, it didn't take you that long to finish the book. I said, well, it kind of took me 15 years because that's how much is in the book from 2006 all the way up until 2020.
What's the reception been like?
I'm still getting, a lot of people are liking the book. A lot of people love the cover. And sometimes people are like, oh, I thought you were talking about gold bars or rapping bars. I'm like, well, there is prison bars on the cover. But
yeah, but like you listed me your heroes and you put down 50, so I thought maybe.
I feel you. Yeah, 50 is in there.
How's he the number one rapper you put out there? Come on, man.
No, he's not the number one rapper. He's not even my favorite rapper.
Why is he on the list then?
I'm going to tell you on the list. Because 50 to me, out of everyone I've seen come home from prison, 50 was a GOAT. He's not even a rapper. He was just a businessman that could hustle. Like he came in the game rapping, he rapped, of course. But now he writes a series on Stars. Like 50 had a way to come into the industry that when I was in prison, I was like, who could I actually model something after? Well, Look at how 50 Cent did it. 50 Cent, he busted on the scene to the rap industry. He never stopped. He never stopped going. He just kept going. And when I learned about Bitcoin, I saw it, and I was like, okay, it's some money, but there's a opportunity to build yourself. There's an industry here. And I was like, well, let's try that out. So it was just how he came home from prison.
Who's your hip hop goat?
Oh, y'all don't want to know that.
Yeah, you do. Come on.
I like Gucci Mane.
Gucci Mane.
I like him.
Not for me, man. Not for me.
Who you like, man?
God. Do you know R.A. the Rugged Man?
No, I haven't heard that name.
Dude, I've got to play you him. God, who do I like? There's J. Rue the Damager. Do you know J. Rue the Damager?
I never heard of him
Dude,
either.
I've got some bars for you. Not for me. I'd be fucking
you
terrible.
got bars? Okay.
No, actual bars.
Send me their info on Twitter, then I'll look them up, man.
Mobb Deep? I bet you like Mobb Deep.
Yeah, I like Mobb Deep. Yeah.
I don't like any of the new stuff. My son's into it. I just think it's just like shit.
Let me think. All right, so a rapper that I like that's before Gucci, it was just random guys probably, but I always liked Tupac.
Yeah, of course.
I like Jay-Z. I like Jay-Z. Mm-hmm. I liked how he handled business though. Mm-hmm. Like, and that's where certain rappers stand out to me. It's not really your lyrics. It's how do you handle your business? Even with Gucci Mane, like, not saying he's the greatest businessman of all time, but there were times where he was just always going to jail, but he would come right back out and get right back to work. And it's like, how could you knock that work ethic? That's another thing. How much work ethic do you really have? If you don't have no work ethic, I can't sit here and say you're going to be a great rapper or you're going to be great at anything. So these guys had like superb work ethic.
Proof of work.
Right. And like, how did you handle being a star and also business? Like, I didn't really notice, but I'm always looking at how did you promote longevity, right? Because a lot of guys would fizzle out at the 1 to 2 songs. You don't hear from them no more. So it was about who can promote the best longevity. And I didn't really have anything to pattern after. So that's why those guys, like everybody I have as a favorite, it's not necessarily just because of their craft. It's about what lies within them, like a certain character trait. Like what character trait do they have? It's about, how much work ethic you're willing to put in. What will not stop you? What will not stop you? Will the price of Bitcoin stop you from buying Bitcoin? More times than not, it does for most people. But when you're really dedicated to something, you start seeing the power of how bad you want something can get you anywhere. Like really, how bad I want it got me to where I am today. The #1 Bitcoin podcast in the world.
So what's the plan now, man? What are you doing now? What's the future hold?
So the plan now is to, of course, continuously promote the book, but also I'm looking now to do book tours, reaching out to different companies about sponsorships, and also looking to do projects where I can go inside prisons and actually teach Bitcoin.
That's cool.
I'm in talks with people. I don't know how much, if it's died down to them. I bet you if this bull market kicks in, people will be ready to do something.
But maybe the angle's slightly different. Maybe it's just saying you're going to teach financial literacy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that's what we said actually in the
Trojan
documents,
horse.
in the document. But the thing was like, you had COVID come up and people are starting to, institutions are starting to be like, oh, well, we got to hold back. But my idea is to, number one, be able to teach the real power of Bitcoin within the country, within the world, through a book tour. Also take that same type of knowledge and show people who are in prison or coming home how you can use Bitcoin to your advantage. But still teaching the globe and working on a few projects with a few Bitcoin companies to see just what can be done, opening up that landscape. But from there, and look to build a Satoshi standard business. So it's not going to be the same. I don't want it to be the same. You see everybody have some type of financial DCA company, and it's cool. I mean, it's a space we're in, but I look at it like if we're going to have a decentralized community, that means you're going to have other services where Bitcoiners are running this company. It's a Bitcoin company, but it doesn't provide the everyday, dollar cost average service, the everyday exchange. Those things are great, but again, if you want a community and you want Bitcoin to be the money of that community, you're going to have community, you're going to have different companies built, period. So just continuously taking that to whatever the next level is.
Well, I love your hustle, man. I love, and anyone who turns their life around, I've bored people to death with the shit I've been through, but like, when you hit like a really bad situation and it affects you mentally as well, and it affects you as a person, as a man, like to try and turn your life around is hard, but like it takes a lot of work, a bit of luck, but I really like your story. I'm glad you did it, and I really appreciate you coming in. I appreciate you keep badgering me to do this. But
hey,
if I'd have known, you should like the Bitcoin vegan thing. It's like, I want to talk about fucking veganism. I just feel guilty because I kind of want to be a vegan again. But like,
man, I got you, man. It's all good. Don't worry about it.
Well, do you know what? It's one of those things where you're like I said, it takes a lot of discipline, a lot of work, especially with traveling. And I did it. So I did it for a year, not work. I took a year off work after my marriage broke up, then my company failed, and my mum was sick. So I did it for a year, like it was easy. And then after my mum passed, it was like, it became difficult because
it's like, that's the person you were doing it with.
Yeah, no, it was something, I tell you what, something else though, is like, what happened was, when you don't work, filling a whole day is hard. And I took a year off work.
Yeah.
I would have naps in the middle of the day because I was bored. I would run or I'd go to the gym. I'd do anything. I was doing like Pilates with old ladies 3 days a week just to do something.
Yeah.
But so to go to like buy some fresh veg and go and make a meal and find a recipe and spend an hour cooking a meal was like, it was filling my time, right? And
Mm-hmm.
and then what happened was when I went back to work, I didn't have the time, so I started having processed foods and pastas and
Yeah.
pasta sauces, and I just ended up feeling shit.
Right.
So it was a lifestyle thing, but I would like to have the discipline to do it again. And maybe I don't do it full time. Maybe I just do it for a few months. But it was the time of my life where I'd come out of a really shit situation. I had most clarity, most discipline, and felt good.
Mm-hmm.
So it isn't something I wouldn't be scared.
And it
to do
might have
again.
been just the fact that you needed it to be, to bring that.
Dude,
to
I
bring
did
that
need it at
clarity.
that time.
You know what I mean? Because when you go through something, I always notice people make a change in their diet when they're in the middle of a transition. You're trying to not run from a situation, but you're trying to grow from it.
Mm-hmm.
And veganism was that thing. And like you said, rest in peace to your mother. That's something y'all did, and the fact that timing thing, people don't never take that into consideration. Like, well, I've been doing this at this pace, I'm good. So you just never just implement something that just works. You have to things are going to happen where time is going to be altered a bit. And going back to work is something that's legit because it's, you never really planned on how to do this and work at the same time. But I think you could do it, man.
Got to do the work, man.
You
All
got to do
right,
it.
tell me where to get the book. Where do they follow you?
You can get the book the book is live on Amazon.
All right.
From Bars to Bitcoin on Amazon. Or you can go to my website, bitcoinvegan.com, and just press the shop page. It's the first thing you can buy. You can follow me on Twitter, Bitcoin_vegan. You can follow me on Instagram, Bitcoin Vegan Justin, or at LinkedIn, Justin Rhedrick.
Who the fuck got Bitcoin Vegan on Twitter?
Huh?
Who got Bitcoin Vegan on Twitter?
Some spam bot page. I don't know who the hell got that before me, but I was just like, what?
We need to get that for you.
Yo, tell Jack to holler at me, man, please.
Yeah, come on, Jack. Get your shit together. Dude, love the story, man. Great to see you. Hopefully you can come to the fight Saturday. Let's see if we can make that happen. I got you on that. And appreciate you. Appreciate you reaching out. And thanks for coming in. And anything I can do for you, you just let me know, dude.
Well, thank you, man. Thank you. First of all, I appreciate this whole experience. Again, I told someone, as long as you say yes, opportunities will be there. And hell, got flown out for an interview. So it's definitely cool, man. And we'll be in touch though.
Well, it won't be the last time. You, me, and Zay will do one. I'll just throw like a grenade out and just watch you two go for it.
Hey, do that. I like that. Just because I'll probably walk out the best basketball player again. But
hey, my son would give you a go. Do you know what? I shot my first gun in North Carolina.
Really?
True story. Yeah, my third interview with Jameson Lopp. I emailed him and I was like, Jameson, I want to interview you and I want to shoot a gun. And so we were in Raleigh. You took me to a gun range and I shot my first gun.
Good old Lopp.
And that's when I stopped being a vegan.
Oh, so we got to blame Lopp.
Well, no, we're going to blame me just being a dick. So what actually happened was, this is funny. I could just remember this. So what happened was we went to shoot the guns, and afterwards he took me to barbecue. I was thinking, look at this big long bearded dude. He's just took me to shoot guns. I just didn't feel like I could turn around to him and say, I'm a vegan. So I ended up having barbecue with him. I was like, fucking hell, damn, this is good barbecue.
How did you feel afterwards?
I felt great. Like people were like, how'd you? I said, I felt great. It was good, man. But I do regret it because I've kind of got out of shape again, and I don't have that discipline. It plays on my mind, man. I do think
you're gonna end up doing it. You're gonna end up doing it.
I think I will. I think but it might not be one of those forever things.
Right.
I might just do like 3 months or something.
I think you're gonna find a stride. That's what you're looking for. Just a stride to interject it back into everything you have going on.
Well, it's a focus that energy, man. But we'll see. All right, listen. Great to meet you, man. All the best. Stay in touch. Anything you need, you got my details. All right.
Got you. Yes, sir.